Good morning. It is 7:01 a.m. on Friday, September 17th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. It's true. Last night I finished The Forgotten City, which, if you didn't see my video earlier this week talking a bit about it, it is a video game that was originally based on a Skyrim mod. So it kind of uses that Skyrim engine, but it is a standalone game, and it is quite different from Skyrim in many, many respects. I suppose the closest parallel to Skyrim would be that it's a bit like a quest line that has extremely minimal combat in it. It's not totally devoid of combat, but very little, and it's not especially difficult in that regard. The basic premise is that you play a character who finds themselves transported 2,000 years in the past into a city that seems to be at least somewhat like it seems like you're going underground, but then there is some light there, and it's people who appear to be from ancient Rome. And what you're told is that in this city, that there is what's known as the Golden Rule, which is to say that if anybody in the city commits a sin, everybody in the city will be killed by transformation into these gold statues. And there are lots of other gold statues around the city suggesting that this has in fact happened before, but that the people here now are doing their best to not have it happen this time. And you are tasked with you're told that your appearance there in the city is part of a prophecy that the golden rule will be broken on that day. And so the person who has brought you there tells you, I need you to figure out who's going to do it so that we can stop it from happening. But if it does start to happen, we can do this ritual that will send you back to the beginning of the day. So you can try again. And so it's essentially a time loop game. And it's a time loop game where you're trying to figure out solve all the various little mysteries of these 20 some people who live in this town, figure out who's going to break the golden rule and see if you can stop it, while also solving a handful of other sort of mysteries around. There's a guy who's been getting harassing graffiti drawn on the walls of his shop. There's a woman who's missing. There's a couple of other things involved, but the game is about that's like the plot, and so it's kind of about the idea of the obvious question that arises from a scenario like that is, okay, well, whose version of what's a sin? Well, that's the thing, they don't know for sure. There's not a hard and set rule that says these things are sins, these things are not sins. You certainly observe people doing what we would certainly call bad behavior, in even evil behavior that doesn't seem to count because it's done through sort of a weird roundabout way, so kind of a loophole. There's other things where you sort of worry, like, well, would this count? But you can certainly verify for yourself that at least something is happening, because certainly anytime you try to steal something from a character, it does trigger the golden rule. But that's sometimes what you have to do in this game, because, for example, if you want to know what's inside this locked chest that someone keeps in their room, you might need to steal their key. Now, as soon as you steal the key, the golden rule is triggered because you stole something, and I guess that counts as a sin in the eyes of whoever's doing this rule. But what you do is you steal the key, and then you run around up to the ritual site so that you can restart the day. And now you restart the day, everything's back to ground zero, except you still have that key. And that's how you end up solving a lot of puzzles, is that you can get an item by creating a certain set of circumstances, and then take that with you back to reset the day. And then, try to arrange a different set of circumstances to solve some other puzzle. And it's pretty neat. I like it a lot. And I like that it's, I would say in terms of philosophy, it's not as deep as, real philosophy would sometimes get, but it's deeper than a lot of video games tend to get. And it's got some neat ideas and neat little stories in there. And it's got some clever little mechanics. And so there are 4 different endings, and even the fourth so-called canon ending has different ways that it can play out depending on certain things that you do. Like mostly that one, the differences depend on your behavior in the last loop before you trigger the ending. But I got all 4 endings, and in fact actually did the canon ending twice, because there was a few imperfections in the first time I got it. And in fact, you can actually get that ending in a couple of different ways, and so I tried that as well. And so I've finished the whole thing. It's relatively short, which is frankly nice sometimes in these days of, these open world games that just are so stuffed full of everything that it takes 80 hours to finish them or more. So this one, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6 to 8 hours probably. Here, let's see, I could probably tell you exactly how much time I spent with it to do all of the endings. Let's see, I'm pulling up my Steam right now. Okay. Looks like I spent just under 10 hours in it. And I didn't get all of the endings, but the only ones that I didn't get were the ones that are just like, do this really weird thing for some reason. But in any case, I recommend it. If what I described sounds at all interesting to you, I think you probably enjoy it. I think that, yeah, it's good. I like it. That's The Forgotten City, which is, I played it on Steam, but I believe it's also on several of the prominent consoles. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.